start looking at what this voice is about and start dealing with some of the perfects that are about it. And I say, first of all, I don't judge a nation by the worst of its history, but by how it overcomes the worst of its history and by its vision for the now and future. And on that measure, I judge Australia well. We have people who come from all over the world, just about every race, every culture, multicultural country, every faith. We have people who have come from all the different places in the world. And we have built a very good country. When I look at some of the things that are said, the first thing is that people say is Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders don't have a voice. We've had a voice for many years. In fact, we campaigned in the 60s and got the 1967 referendum to happen. And what that referendum was about was equality, that Aboriginals were equal as citizens of this country, as everyone else are equal as citizens of this country. It stopped segregation, so we were allowed then to live in cities and in towns and go to schools and do a whole wide range of different things. And it was about removing race from the Constitution. Within 5 years of that referendum, all the race laws in Australia were gone. They were wiped out. Got rid of the White Australian policy, got rid of Aboriginal protection boards, got rid of Aboriginal welfare boards, and people were able to take up a full citizenship. And we went from there. We had education programs brought in for Aboriginals to get to school and universities. We had Aboriginal medical services, legal services, and a wide range of other community housing companies and so on, which helped us. I come from Bayou, which is originally about 80 kilometres out of Grafton before we moved to Sydney. My parents lived in Humphreys. They had very limited education, but they wanted us to be educated and to take up the opportunities that this country had. Just like migrants and refugees who come here, they wanted to take up the opportunities and build a future for their children. And so we did. My parents got us to go to school. We ended up going to university. We bought houses. I run businesses. And there's some things that also are not said. So we had a voice. We have 11 Aboriginals sitting in the Parliament, of the Federal Parliament. We have 28 of them now sitting in state and territory parliaments across Australia. We have mayors. I'm a former deputy mayor and acting mayor at Dubbo City in western New South Wales. With 55% of the Australian land mass has been handed back to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. They receive royalties for mining and many other projects that are happening on their land. When I was working for Malcolm Turnbull and Tony Abbott in their governments, I was the chair of the Indigenous Advisory Council. We set up a program because we saw that there was limited economic development within the Closing the Gap. In that Closing the Gap, we put in economic development. We set up a program called the Business Economy Strategy. And that strategy started out in 2015. There was $6.2 billion going to Aboriginal businesses in those days on contracts. Today, 8 years later, it's worth $8.7 billion. 45,000 jobs have been created out of that. 3,500 businesses have been created. And it's had an enormous amount of positive things. We've got education programs now. We've got doctors and lawyers and engineers. We've got people working in executive positions in the private sector and in the government sector. We've got a whole lot of these things happening for the benefit of Aboriginal people. Now that doesn't mean that there aren't people struggling and having problems, and we see it on the television and that. What that means is we've got to stop treating Aboriginals as a homogeneous group, as one group. People like myself, Marcia Langton, Noel Pearson, and so on. We don't need that support. We've been able to get up and work. When I was a young kid, I did an apprenticeship at Silverwater. So I worked with migrants there who taught me about how to work and how to feed your families and how to prosper and do things. And so I was very proud of being working with those migrants and that, and learning so much about what is best. We've got to stop treating Aboriginals as all the same. We've got to focus on people of need. And as people of need are not only Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, they are people from all different races and are living in remote and regional Australia. That's what we've got to focus on. And it's education. I don't know any race of people that have never got out of poverty without an education. Economic participation, that's a job, or running a business, and making their communities safe. And that's the three things we should be focusing on. And that's where I'll finish up there, but then I'll have questions and that later on. Thank you.